My best friend got married to my ex, and now they're expecting a child. I never thought I'd find myself back in the same situation. Not like this. I'd always considered myself a pretty easygoing guy, someone who could let go of things, move on when I needed to, and not dwell on the past. But somehow here I was, stuck in a loop of familiar feelings I'd thought I'd outgrown. The first time I met Alice, I was just a kid. We were both freshmen at college, both a little shy, unsure of ourselves in the world of new opportunities and people. We bonded over late night study sessions and an awkward chemistry lab where I accidentally spilled a chemical on her shoe. That was the start of everything. We became inseparable. She was the best part of my day, always there with her quick wit and that smile that could brighten even the darkest days. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, we went from being friends to something more. Maybe it was the way she would look at me when I cracked a stupid joke, or the way her hand felt in mine as we walked around campus together. Maybe it was the way she laughed when I was being completely ridiculous, like I was the only person in the world who could make her laugh that way. The more time we spent together, the more we shared our hopes and dreams, our fears and insecurities. We were each other's constant. For the first couple of years, things were perfect. I thought we had it all figured out. We'd make plans for the future, talk about getting an apartment together once we graduated, maybe even travel. It all seemed so clear. But as time went on, things started to change. Not dramatically, not overnight, but in the small ways that pile up until you realize the weight of it all. We both got busier. I had a lot on my plate with internships and trying to figure out where I wanted to go in life. Alice, too, started shifting her focus more toward her own future. She seemed distant sometimes, like she was thinking about something I couldn't understand. I told myself it was just the stress of school, just the weight of expectations. But deep down, I knew something was off. Then came Max. I had known Max since the beginning of college. He was my roommate sophomore year, the guy who made me laugh even when I didn't want to. The guy who would binge watch stupid action movies with me on weekends. He was the kind of guy who always knew how to make people feel at ease, and he was always there when I needed a buddy. A good guy, or so I thought. Max and Alice hit it off right from the start. I thought it was just because they were both outgoing, and I was the quiet one, so it made sense. But over time, I noticed that they were hanging out more without me. Max would invite Alice to grab drinks, to study, to go out for dinner. At first, I didn't think much of it. They were both my friends, right? There was nothing wrong with them getting close. But something inside me didn't sit right. I started to feel a strange tug whenever I'd see them together. There was an energy between them that felt too familiar. I tried to ignore it, to tell myself I was being paranoid. But every time I saw the two of them laughing, talking, or even just sitting together, I felt something like a dull ache in my chest. One night, a couple of months later, Max and I were having a drink after work. It was late, and we were the only ones left in the bar. As we chatted, Max brought up Alice. I had been doing my best to avoid the topic, but he insisted. "She's been really stressed out lately, huh?" he asked casually. "I think she's been leaning on me a lot more than she's letting on." I nodded, trying not to show how much his words affected me. "Yeah, I've noticed that too." Max leaned back in his chair, staring into his beer. "You know," he said, his voice getting quieter, "I think she's been having a hard time with you lately." My stomach dropped. I hadn't expected him to say that. I tried to keep my tone neutral, but I could feel my pulse quickening. "What do you mean?" "Well," he hesitated, "she hasn't exactly been happy with how things have been going. I think she feels a little distant from you, you know?" I didn't respond right away. I had no idea how to react. It felt like I was hearing about my own relationship from someone else's perspective, and it didn't feel right. "Are you two okay?" Max pressed, looking at me with a concerned expression. I shrugged, but inside I was anything but calm. "We're fine, just stressed, I guess." Max nodded, but his gaze lingered on me for a moment longer than usual. I couldn't help but wonder if he was seeing something I wasn't. Maybe there was more to this than I was willing to admit. The next few days were a blur. Max and Alice seemed even closer than before. They would text each other during the day, making plans that didn't include me. At first, I told myself it was just a coincidence, that maybe they were just becoming better friends. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between them, and I couldn't figure out what it was. But life went on, and I tried to focus on other things. Work was demanding, and I had a lot of personal projects I was trying to get off the ground. I kept myself busy, trying not to dwell on my growing suspicions. But they never left. The unease, the constant wondering, it was always there. Then everything came to a head one night. It started with a simple text from Alice. She asked if we could talk. I didn't think much of it at first, but something in her message felt off. I agreed, of course. I didn't think anything could prepare me for what I was about to hear. I didn't know what to expect when I walked into Alice's apartment that night. She had asked to meet, saying it was important. The tone of her text had felt a little off, but I brushed it aside. I told myself that maybe she just wanted to talk about our relationship, maybe something had been bothering her. After all, we had been through so much together. As I entered her apartment, I noticed how empty it felt. The lights were dim, and the air was heavy with silence. Alice was sitting on the couch, her legs tucked underneath her, looking like she had been waiting for hours. When she saw me, she didn't smile. There was no excitement in her eyes, no warmth, just a blank stare that sent a chill down my spine. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "What's going on? You sounded serious in your message." She nodded slowly, avoiding my gaze. "Yeah, we need to talk." Her voice was calm, almost too calm, which only made me more uneasy. I sat down beside her, waiting for her to continue. The tension in the room was palpable. She looked at me for a moment as if trying to find the right words, but it was clear she was struggling. "I don't really know how to start this," Alice said, her voice shaking slightly. "But there's something I need to tell you, and it's not easy. And I don't want to hurt you, but I think you need to know." My stomach twisted into knots. I could feel my pulse quickening, but I stayed silent, waiting for her to continue. "Alice, just tell me what's going on," I said, trying to hide the panic in my voice. "You're scaring me." She took a deep breath, then finally met my eyes. "Max and we've been seeing each other for a while now. It started when we started spending more time together. I never meant for it to happen, and I never wanted to hurt you, but it did. And I couldn't keep this from you anymore." I froze. The words didn't immediately register. My brain couldn't keep up with what she was saying. Maximum, my best friend, and Alice, the woman I thought I was building a future with. Together. It felt like the world had just shattered in front of me. I had spent years of my life trusting these two people, and now everything I thought I knew was a lie. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it, but nothing made sense. "You and Max?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She nodded, her eyes filled with guilt and sorrow. "I'm so sorry. I never wanted this to happen, but it did. I was confused, and I should have been honest with you earlier." I could feel the anger rising inside me, but I couldn't speak. I didn't know what to say, what to do. It felt like I was suffocating, drowning in the overwhelming emotions, betrayal, confusion, sadness. "Alice, how could you?" I finally managed to choke out. "How could you do this to me? To us?" She seemed to shrink back at my words, but she didn't say anything for a long time. I could tell she was waiting for me to react, to scream, to shout, but I couldn't. I was too stunned, too numb. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears starting to fill her eyes. "I never meant to hurt you. I didn't want this to happen. But Max, he made me feel something. I didn't know what to do." I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw her for who she really was. She wasn't the person I had thought she was. She wasn't the woman who had stood by my side through everything. She was someone else now, someone I didn't recognize. But there was more. Something about her tone, the way she said Max's name, made it clear that this wasn't just a one-time thing. This wasn't just some mistake or accident. This was deliberate. "Alice," I said, my voice steadier now, "how long has this been going on?" Her eyes filled with shame. "A few months. It started when you were really busy with work, and Max and we started talking more. I didn't want to hurt you, but I was so confused. I didn't know what to do." I stood up suddenly, the anger inside me finally breaking free. "A few months," I repeated, my voice rising. "A few months? You both knew, and you didn't have the decency to tell me?" "I didn't know how to," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I thought maybe it was just a phase, but it wasn't. It was real. I'm sorry, Jake." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I could feel the room spinning, my thoughts swirling around in chaos. I had been living a lie. My best friend and my girlfriend, the two people I trusted most in the world, had betrayed me. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my voice almost a growl. Why wait until now? Why do this behind my back? I don't know, she said, her face crumpling. I didn't want to hurt you. I was afraid of losing you. I thought I could fix things, but I couldn't. And now I don't know what to do. I looked at her, but I couldn't find any sympathy. All I could feel was anger. Not just at her, but at myself. I had been blind. I had been too trusting, too willing to ignore the red flags. I don't know who you are anymore, I said, my voice hollow. I thought I knew you. I thought we had something real, but I was wrong. Alice's face crumbled, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for her. But that feeling quickly faded. I couldn't be the person to fix this for her. I couldn't be the one who made her feel better after everything she'd done to me. I turned and walked toward the door, but before I left, I turned back one last time. I need some space, Alice. I need time to think. I don't know if we can ever go back to what we had. With that, I left her apartment, the weight of betrayal heavier than I had ever felt in my life. I didn't know what to do with myself after I left Alice's apartment. I walked around the city, my footsteps heavy and my mind racing. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, trying to make sense of everything she had said. A few months? Max and Alice? It didn't make sense. How had they kept it hidden for so long? How had I been so blind? I ended up at a bar, something familiar that could give me some semblance of normality. The noise of the crowd and the hum of conversations helped dull the thoughts swirling in my head, but the emptiness I felt still lingered. I didn't even know why I ordered the drink. It wasn't going to fix anything, but I didn't know where else to go. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring into my drink, letting the cold glass in my hand ground me. I tried to talk to myself, tried to process the reality of the situation. Alice had betrayed me, yes. But what about Max? He was supposed to be my best friend. We had shared so much over the years. How could he do this to me? And why? The problem was, I couldn't just cut Max out of my life like I could with Alice. He was family. He had been there for me through thick and thin. The thought of confronting him made my stomach twist with dread, but I knew I couldn't avoid it forever. I couldn't just pretend everything was okay. I had to face him, confront the truth, and see if there was anything left of the friendship I thought we had. The next day, I called him. My fingers hovered over the phone for a long time before I pressed dial. I didn't know what I was expecting, some kind of apology maybe, or an explanation. But as soon as I heard the ring, I realized how much I hated the sound of him, the person who had once been my closest friend, now feeling like a stranger. Hey, Jake, Max answered. His voice was casual, almost too casual. What's up? I took a deep breath, fighting the urge to hang up. We need to talk. There was a pause on the other end, and I could almost hear him calculating how to respond. Yeah, I figured. What's going on? You know what's going on, Max, I said, my voice tight. You and Alice. How long has this been going on? Jake, Max began, but I cut him off. Don't try to apologize. I don't want to hear it. How long? Max sighed deeply. It's been a few months. We didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. I never wanted to hurt you. The words stung, but there was nothing new there. Nothing I hadn't already guessed. I leaned back in my chair, feeling numb. How could you do this to me? You were my best friend, Max. I trusted you, and Alice... I shook my head, unable to finish the sentence. How could you both do this to me? I'm sorry, man. I really am. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought it was just a phase, you know. I didn't know what I was doing, and before I knew it, it was too late. The excuse made me sick. A phase? That's what he thought this was? You thought it was a phase? I asked, my voice shaking. Max, this isn't some phase. This is betrayal. You don't just casually sleep with your best friend's girlfriend and call it a phase. There was silence on the other end. I could tell he didn't know what to say, and frankly, neither did I. What did I even want from him at this point? An apology? A justification? The damage was done, and I wasn't sure if anything could make it right. I've lost so much respect for you, Max, I said, my words coming out cold and final. I thought you were different, but now I just feel like I don't know you at all. I get it, Jake. and I'm sorry, but I can't change what's happened. All I can do is ask for your forgiveness, even if I don't deserve it." I didn't respond right away. The words felt empty, like he was just saying what he thought I wanted to hear. I didn't want his apology. I didn't want his words. I wanted the respect that had been shattered, the trust that had been broken, to somehow be restored. But I knew it couldn't be. "I can't forgive you right now, Max," I said finally. "I need time. I need space." There was a long pause before he spoke again. "I understand. I'm sorry, Jake. I really am. I wish things could be different." "I do too," I said quietly, but they're not." I hung up the phone before he could say anything else. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't need to hear it. What I needed now was time to heal. Time to figure out who I was without the people who had once meant everything to me. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't get rid of the anger, the hurt, the sense of betrayal that consumed me. Max and Alice were both gone from my life, but their presence was everywhere. Their absence made the apartment feel emptier than it ever had before, but I was starting to understand something. I was starting to see that this wasn't just about them. It was about me, about the choices I had made, the things I had allowed to happen in my life. I had let myself become so consumed with keeping everyone else happy, with maintaining relationships that weren't healthy for me, that I had forgotten what it felt like to just live for myself. In time, I knew that I would heal. I would move on from Max, from Alice, and from the life I thought I was building. It wasn't going to be easy, but I had to let go. I had to let go of the people I thought I could trust, and I had to find myself again.